Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of Middle Class Rockstar. I'm happy that you're here. I hope you're doing well in the midst of all this craziness. If you're listening to this years from now and you know something that the rest of us don't, it's October 2020. Before I forget, I'm going to throw this in right at the beginning. I'm now on Patreon, patreon.com/Andy Sidow, Sydow. For as little as $3 a month, you can help contribute to the support of this podcast and the growth of this podcast, as well as my music career. I put out all kinds of original music. In fact, I have some things that I'm putting out only on Patreon, not for the general public. I'm also doing breakdowns of chord progressions and lyrics and all kinds of perks for people signing up for my Patreon. That's the way of the future. People are on Patreon, artists are on Patreon. That's how we're helping to make our income so that we can continue to make music on the highest level. That'll be in the show notes, Patreon, patreon.com/Andy, Sydow, if you'd like to support. Thank you very much for considering. Anyhow, I'm doing well. I'm actually just sitting in the home studio recording monologues all afternoon because I took quite a bit of time off, middle to end of the summer and start of the fall here. So I was taking some time to rejuvenate before releasing more episodes and get some interviews done too. So I'm sitting here getting some monologues knocked out. My guest today is Alex Rhodes. I'm very excited to have him on the podcast. He's somebody who I don't even remember who he got my name from, but he shot me a text or a call at some point, and we got together for coffee. He was just picking my brain about some stuff, and then I started picking his brain about some stuff, and we hit it off. And so we try to grab lunch, every couple months or so, but that hasn't happened in quite some time with everything happening. But yeah, we hit it off well. Our personalities mesh well together, and we became buddies. So Alex has been releasing songs consistently leading up to his new EP, Hometown Rootage, and he's doing lots of promotion locally. He's doing everything he can to make a run at this music thing, and he's a daddy. He's got 2 kids at home. He's not 25. He's not an old guy, but he's not 25. He's in that situation, and we talk about it a lot, where he's got, in the interview, where he's got a family, and he's making the music career thing work for him, too. The new EP is great. I've heard most of it, and it is out this month, October. Hometown Rootage, once again. I don't know what day in October, because at the time of this monologue, October 1st, he might have himself a very nice review from a very credible Americana press outlet. And so I can't say what that is right now if it happens, but it might delay the release of his EP by a couple weeks, depending on what they want to do with it. So all I can say is that Hometown Rootage will be out sometime, October 2020. And as you're listening to this episode, it might currently be out. If not, it'll be out shortly. And we're actually going to hear a song off the EP, one of the singles, entitled Break My Heart. It's a great song. He's got the Americana vibe, the folky, the singer-songwriter thing going on, which is exactly what I do. It's exactly what I like to listen to. So I love his music. I love his tunes. And we have a great conversation about the industry and being a parent and doing the music thing and where he grew up and everything in between. I'm looking back through my notes right now because it's been so long since the actual conversation. Usually the turnaround is very quick, but with the season break between season 2 and the start of season 3, I recorded several episodes and then just archived them. So anyhow, quick thanks to the sponsors, PQ Mastering. Patrick at PQ Mastering puts the finishing touches on this podcast. And for any of your audio or restoration needs, you can go to www.pqmastering.com. We also have Narrator RF. For simple and affordable music on licensing for sync, look no further than narratormusic.com. That's enough of me blabbing. Let's jump into my conversation with Alex Rhodes. All right. What's going on, man?
Hey, man. Thanks for having me on the
Well,
Andy Sito podcast, Middle
yeah,
Class Rockstar.
yeah, that's it. I'm gonna have you do the introduction from now on. Um, well, it's really good to see you. I know we were making a point to get lunch every couple months, and we haven't done that in 2020 probably.
Yeah, I've been scared to leave the house. So,
And you have been. You were telling me. I mean, there's people that are on different levels of being careful, and there are people, I've certainly seen in Douglas County and stuff when I go teach down there that have thrown all caution to the wind too. So you are further on. You're more uh, on the safe side of the safe scale, correct?
yeah, I'm a bit of a hypochondriac. So, I've never liked germs, which has always been kind of difficult. So this situation's been difficult for me, but yeah, I mean, with the kids and with my wife, it's also been kind of nice because we just kind of hang at home, and that's been a nice family time at least.
That's good. And you did finally get rid of your kids this week. You were saying, right?
They started school this week, so yeah, we're fingers crossed everything goes well there, and yeah, it's been interesting because they've most of the time been home with us. So watching a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old go through the mental struggles that this brings on has been it's been a good good content for writing.
Really good. Good, good. Well, so who hates who more? Do the parents hate the kids or do the kids hate the parents?
um they get tired of us pretty quickly, you know. So it might be them just liking us more.
Uh, well, I'm really glad you're able to sit down and chat with me. And I feel like there's so many interesting storylines here to chat about. And one of the main things I want to uh, touch on is that you're a dad. You have two kids that you said are 7 and 4, and you're really going for the music thing. And you've got an EP coming out October 16th, and you're going at some of these release strategy things for the first and second time. And I really want to dig in with you and talk about how it's been going, how you're doing it, and also how your strategy might be different from a 19-year-old trying to do the same thing, with two kids
Yeah,
at home. Um, so let's start off with this new EP. It's coming out October 16th. Tell us a little bit about it.
sure. This is a great story. I I recorded this actually 3 years ago with some buddies of mine from college. We were in a band, and one of my buddies has a studio in his house in New York. So I flew there and recorded it. We hired a producer, hired a drummer, and it was a super fun weekend. And I had these songs that I had written, got them done, and then I just kind of sat on it um, for no reason other than I knew I wanted to do something with it, but I didn't have time. I was working 50, 60 hours a week, got kids, the whole thing. And so I kind of got things set up in a way to release it, and I wanted to do it right, so I did. Or
Nice.
I hope I am.
Yeah, yeah. There'll be that long list in a few weeks that you'll put aside for next time, and so on and so forth. So, does this feel like the right time? Do you feel prepared to put it out?
um, I think first it doesn't really matter if I'm prepared because it's
Yeah.
going out. So I think I mean, it feels like the right time for me. Like I'd gotten everything lined up for what I wanted to do, and I made this obscenely long sheet in Google Sheets of like, here's what you do today. Just go do it. And it's been my tick list every morning. Just wake up and do those things. So it feels right, and yeah, it feels good.
How much planning have you put into it in terms of the spreadsheets and stuff?
3 years? No.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um, The planning, I sat down for 2 days and just I read, I think a lot of musicians we read all the blogs and listen to the podcasts of folks like here's how you do it, here's how you release it. And so I did that for a number of weeks and then sat down for about 2 days and just made my list of when you do this, 2 weeks after this, you're going to do that. And I just sorted the date list. So it took about 2 days to really organize the next 4 months for me. But it's been a godsend because otherwise I'd be clueless.
Have you stuck to it pretty well?
Pretty much I've marked off the things that I know I haven't done with red just so I can go back and say, you didn't do this. Why didn't you do this? And I try to put notes in like I was lazy that day or it just feels sleazy or whatever.
Let's jump into that a little bit. So what, not necessarily what feels sleazy, but maybe I have that issue where I make a list because I watched somebody's YouTube video who seems to know what they're talking about. And then you go look at it and you're like, do I really have to do that? Why would I do that thing? What were some of those for you?
A lot of it's just Facebook posts, like you, because some of the items that I listed out were like, share a funny commercial that you think is funny with your audience, and some of it I copied and pasted, and I read that like my audience, like that just seems dirty. Like you're my friends. Hopefully, we're into the same kind of music. We're buddies on this, so a lot of it's just been Facebook posts or things where I feel like I'm asking people for things that it doesn't feel authentic, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And have you done anything differently? Have you taken any of these strategies and twisted them a little bit to make them authentic the way it feels authentic to you?
If I have time, yeah. I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head that I would have done a little bit differently. Well, like I'm crowdsourcing a video right now for Hometown Rootage, the single. It's coming out in September, and I'm just asking folks like, "Hey, send me pictures of your hometown or videos of your hometown," and trying to put a spin on it where it's not just me making a video, which is also fun and I think artistically satisfying. But this is more like this is about you, and the song's about you know hometown. So what does that mean to you? And trying to get people interested in it. Hopefully it's something that resonates with you. I've seen and to be honest, part of it I copped from Josh Ritter. I saw him do this video too, and I thought it was super cool the way he did it. And I sent him a picture because I was like, "Yeah, man, I like what you do. Here's a picture of my hometown. I hope you include it in the video."
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. That's a good concept for a music video. I realized I usually start with person introduction, and we just sort of jumped into it, which is cool. To take a step back, and I led into this question by or into this request by the name of your EP that you just mentioned, Hometown Rootage. And it made me wonder what's under the covers. So give us a quick introduction of who you are and where you're from.
Sure. I'm Alex Rhodes. I live in Denver. I am from North Carolina, a real rural town called Franklinville. It's in the middle of the state, about 1,000 people. Um, and yeah, I grew up. My dad's family is really musical. My dad played guitar, church and different functions growing up. So I always watched him play guitar, and his family gatherings, we always sing and play guitar. So was always interested in that. I was in a band in high school, in a band in college, and then I took off after college and moved to Denver. And I, I kind of went through a dry spell for a while of not really playing, not really writing, and then in my late 20s, early 30s, I figured out that I didn't have to write songs about heartache all the time because I was like,
Yeah.
I'm a relatively happy 30-year-old. I'm married and things are pretty good for me. So no one wants to hear me whine about some girl.
Right.
Um, so I started getting more like storytelling and writing, and it got me interested in music again. So I've started playing more.
And it's been like that ever since, yeah.
Yeah. I think also having kids, I had the realization that kids will take all of the energy you allow them to have. So for me, I knew this was important to me. So I needed to block off time for this. Because if I don't do this, for whatever reason, I just become a miserable person. It's like this outlet that it has to happen. Um, so it forced me into like, okay, if you really want to do this, you need to make the time to do it and take it seriously and quit writing sad breakup songs.
Everybody likes that sad breakup song. Um, well, what's the end goal? Let me jump to that then, and we'll come back into all this. What's the end goal for you? You came back at it late 20s, early 30s. You have a family, you had a career. What what's the end goal of all this for you?
Yeah, that's a great question because I think especially in my early 30s I had no idea. I was like I like doing this. I can get a show here and there or play an open mic and it satisfies whatever it is inside me, and then it became, well, I kind of want more, and my wife is just like the most supportive person ever. I lucked out there. So she was like, if you want to take it seriously, here are some things that you should probably do. And I was like, you're probably right. Um, and for me, the end goal, and that's why I like your podcast, middle class rock star. Can I just make a decent living doing this?
Yeah. Yeah,
And that doesn't mean, being the Taylor Swift and having millions of streams. It's can I just make a decent income?
and what is this for you? Is it anything in music, or is it specifically touring and playing original music? Is it not touring and playing original music? What is this for you?
It's touring and playing original music, and I'd love to do sync and get into film and movies. I play this Americana vibe, so that's a really, really niche market right now in sync. Um,
Yeah, right.
but that would be it, just to sustain a reasonable income to support a family, or help support a family.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you asked about just being involved in music. I started. I was in marketing for banking, and then I ended up. We moved to the mountains for a while, and I worked for a newspaper, and then I came back and I was working for the symphony, and then I went back to working for a media company, and then I went to work for a music therapy company. So like there was always this draw for me to music, and it took me until I was 40, I guess, to figure it out.
Wow, I didn't realize you worked with all these organizations that were music based.
Yeah, except for banks.
But yeah, sure. Sure.
But the events we put on were great. We did some events at the Botanic Garden, so I got to go to shows there.
Wow. Wow, that's neat. So jumping back into the EP, have we jumped around enough, people? Are you
Yeah, right.
following us?
Sorry, I'm not sticking to any script at all.
You know what? I usually go in some sort of a in order, and today I haven't. So sorry.
No,
But
that's fine with me.
we're jumping around back to the release, October
Sure.
15th, hometown Rootage.
Yeah.
Let's get into your release plan a little bit more. I know we've touched on it a little bit, but what what is the what is the release plan sort of been rooted around?
Yeah, the plan for that has been, I have these 5 songs, and I spent a reasonable amount of money recording it, so I wanted to do something with it so that people could hear it and get some feedback on it, if nothing else. So the plan has been 5 songs, release 3, one a month, with a video the following week. So I released the song, and I talk about, here's what the song's about. I've been releasing these interview videos, which you were a part of one of them, which is great, where it's just people asking questions, anything from serious to completely off the wall, just to give people a kind of a concept of like what the song is about, what I'm about as a person, and then release the song, and then a week later to 2 weeks later release a video, which I'm filming in my garage.
What's the premise for the video in your garage?
For Break My Heart, it was really I like time lapse videos because one, I think they're cool, and two, it's really easy to do.
Yeah.
So it was me kind of building this broken heart, and then some cutaways to me playing the song. For Bridge Across the Ocean, it is similar concept where I'm mailing this bridge and a map to someone across the ocean. It's a breakup song. I ended up making a breakup song, even though it's my rule to not do that. Um, so it tells that story, and then I have a green screen, so just for fun, I've been messing around with the green screen and different backgrounds on that, and just singing in front of that for some cutaways. And then for Hometown Rootage, it's all about getting people to send me what's important to them about their hometown.
Yeah. Yeah, so you've got the three singles, the full EP, and you've got a video for your three singles. How what approach are you taking to get it out, to get the songs out to people? There's the release plan, obviously, but are you targeting certain blogs? Are you targeting non-com radio? What's your approach there?
Yeah, I've been sending some stuff out to Submit Hub. I made a mistake, especially on the first one with Submit Hub, and applied to the big dogs because I want that validation quickly, and I did not get any validation. It was it was pretty critical. Um, so for the second one, I'm using Submit Hub again to send out to some blogs that I'm more likely to get on, and along with some spending some money on Facebook, and your basic email, Facebook posts. But the money that I'm spending is really Submit Hub and Facebook.
And Submit Hub, for our listeners who have not heard the episode or want to go back and listen to it, I got to chat
Great
with.
episode.
Yes, it really is, because I uh, got the CEO of Submit Hub to teach me how to use his website, and that was really cool. It's episode, gosh, I want to say like 37 or something. I don't know off the top of my head, but I interviewed Jason Grishkoff, who's the founder and CEO of Submit Hub, and he does all the programming and stuff too. He's this cool South African dude, and we actually, if you watch on YouTube, go through the website and submit a song together. And I think that maybe the only reason I got accepted to the very first blog I submitted to was because I did it on the podcast, and I wrote in the comments like, "You're on the air right now, dude," with Jason. And he was probably like, "I should probably put this song."
I should probably do that.
You take what you can get. So you submitted for some, and Submit Hub is a place for folks that don't know, where you can submit your song for a Spotify playlist or a blog, or you can submit it to Instagram influencers to feature your song. So it's a great outlet for artists to get heard and get blog coverage, which is important now. As important now as ever, I think, to have your name popping up on the top of the search engine. So you said you went for some big blogs, and did they like say things back? Did they say bad things back?
Yeah, I got a couple back. One was the vocals are pretty shaky, um, which okay, that hurts, but fair. And then another one
So
said,
shirts and hoods, whatever.
another one said, "Break My Heart" has to be the least original title for a song ever.
Oh my gosh.
So, and I agree. It isn't that original, but I don't know what else you would call that song because the chorus is "Break My Heart." So,
It's catchy. It's
yeah,
catchy, and whatever. Fuck them.
yeah. Critics, that's their job, right? Their job is to tell me to do better, and my job is to, I guess, do better.
So yeah, right. So where would you feel accomplished after putting these out? What would be the thing where you'd be like, okay, these got the traction I wanted them to? Realistic, obviously, where do you hope that these songs get you? What would be a success with these songs for you?
Yeah, I think you're asking at an interesting time because right now I'm like, when I am just done getting this out, I'm gonna feel accomplished, regardless of what the stats are and the metrics. Ultimately, getting to, and this sounds for people who are not musicians who listen to this will be sounds sad, but getting above that 1,000 or under 1,000 threshold on Spotify,
Right.
just getting that social proof and validation that, yeah, 1,000 people plus have listened to this, that is big for me. And then I did get 2,500 views on the Break My Heart video, which isn't, astronomical, but for me, it's just a metric that I can say 2,500 people at least saw 3 seconds of that. And I feel good about that. It's kind of crazy when you talk about metrics of 3 seconds. You're like, that's a success.
Right.
But
Right.
that's the reality of what it
And
is.
I'm always interested in the percentage of people that watched like 3/4 of it or more.
Exactly.
And did you pay for ads to get that video out there to more people?
I did. And I mean, I want to say like $25 to get 2,500 3-second views. And I think 300 of those were 75% plus. So that to me, big success. I can back into the math. I'm not going to, but it's less than $1 to get somebody to watch a full video. And that's good in my book.
Yeah, yeah. People talk about cost per click a lot, and for me, I maybe I'm not smart enough for the statistic, but I always want to know how much does it cost for someone to watch it 75% of the way through, and how do you get that cost down? You know?
Yeah. How do you get that down? Exactly. And I think, from what I know from past jobs and from listening to podcasts, it's just going back to those same people. You found the 300 people who have watched this video most of the way through. Guess what? I got another video, and
Yep.
do 200 of them watch that most of the way through? Okay, well now I got 200 people that must give some sort of shit about what it is I do.
Yeah, which is huge. That's 200 people. If
Yeah,
200 people showed up at your next show in Denver, you'd be pretty stoked.
I would be beyond stoked. Yeah,
Yeah, and did you do that advertising directly through YouTube or did you do that on Facebook ads platform?
straight through Facebook ads platform.
And you directed people to the video on Facebook or did you direct it to YouTube?
I did it through the video on Facebook
You did.
because Facebook
Okay.
they don't play nice with YouTube. I mean, they're
Right.
direct competition, especially now. So yeah, it was straight through Facebook. I have stuff on my YouTube. I've just focused on Facebook to this point because building up subscribers on YouTube is something completely foreign to me. That'll be next release, hopefully.
Yeah, later down the line. So, what's it like we've touched on this a couple times already, but I want to talk about being a dad in all of this. You mentioned they take up every bit of energy you allow them to, and I thought it was funny you phrased it like that, because you're saying that you do have the power to take a little bit of that back.
Yeah, it's does that make me sound like a bad person? It's not meant
No,
to.
no, makes you sound realistic.
No, I think, it's like with any job or anything else. It's just boundary setting. It's, you know, they're going to get up at 6:30 or 7 in the morning. I'm going to struggle to get up at the same time, get breakfast made, get them to school. And then, I have until 4 o'clock. And then from 4 o'clock until 8 o'clock when they're in bed, it's full on, all hands on deck. We're eating dinner, we're doing all of that stuff. So then from 8 o'clock until, I have time to spend with my wife and I have time to play music and then maybe catch some TV. A few years ago, I just stopped watching TV because I got really into music and I really haven't gone back. We watch a lot of sports, but I don't keep up with the latest, coolest TV shows.
Yeah, you got to sacrifice somewhere,
Yeah,
and you sacrificed Ozark to be a musician. So
I did. I have not seen that show. I did though. One time, this guy in front of me on a plane was watching an episode, and I could read the subtitles, and I was like, "Damn, that's a really good show."
yeah, we watched it when COVID started, and Good Lord. It just took 2 full days, and then I forgot about television again. But
Yeah.
um, and so that time spent parenting, do you feel like you're still getting the amount of time you need to do what you want to do? And do you feel like maybe you're maximizing on efficiency better than a 19-year-old version of yourself would have?
Oh, absolutely. I look at my 20s and I'm like, what what was I doing? And then
Mm.
I remember a lot of times at bars, a lot, full days at bars. So, so you you deal with the time that we all have the same amount of time. So, what can I do in between 8 to midnight, really, every night? And now my schedule's completely different than it was when I was working a full-time job. So I have time during the day now, and trying to maximize that.
Mm. Mm. How will that impact your touring decisions? If I know you haven't been able to go out on the road because none of us have
Yeah.
uh, the last few months, but and we'll see. If spring 2021 we start seeing tours again from major artists, or maybe this is a time where it's just small ball, just the small artists are able to go out because it's just little clubs that are open. But how does having a family impact your touring?
Absolutely. And that's part of having a very understanding spouse who, she's also fairly introverted, so she doesn't mind if I'm gone for a while.
Yeah.
Um, so it is that's a conversation that we've had, and this was supposed to be like my big year of like I'm gonna go do this, and I'm gonna get these tours, and I'm gonna be gone for a week, and I'm gonna go to the middle of nowhere, Nebraska, and play a show, and I'll be, you know, living that life that I wanna live for a week or two, and then I'll be back home. And she's very understanding with that. And then turns out she has to hang out with me at home all the time now. Um, so with the kids, we have a good support community here of some good friends, and who can help out if I'm not around for a couple weeks. But that's where the rubber really starts to meet the road of like, okay, how much money are you able to make from touring to be gone for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks? And then what does that look like over the course of the year? Um, and that's when the conversations will really get interesting with my wife.
Right. When you go out to Nebraska and are hemorrhaging money
Exactly.
to pay your band or whatever, are you going to try to go full band or solo, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think I can do a combination of both. I really want to go full band. I love singer songwriters, and I like going to those shows, but I know that I enjoy band shows a lot more. So just from my personal experience, and it just depends on what each show calls for. And then then it's orchestrating, and this way better than I do, orchestrating like, okay, full band show here, and then I can sneak over and get this show over here that night, doing a solo gig, and maybe pick up some money there.
Well, and that's where the money happens. If you can play, a 2-hour request gig at the little restaurant down the street before the show
Yeah.
or after the show, because it is tough to come back and make money. I think the thing where I've struggled is we're going out on the road for 3 weeks and coming back and everybody's making money, not a ton, not as much as sitting at home and teaching 50 lessons a week, but
Yeah.
some money. The band is making some money, and you're all going out playing music. The tough thing is those gigs that are paying for a full band, paying enough to support a full band, I mean, aren't necessarily those keynote gigs, right? Those are, you're not on a bill with a big local band. Those don't pay.
Yeah.
You're playing at a loud, messy bar where maybe nobody cares that you're playing, and you have to make the best of that. So I know that's a tough thing with income too, and with a band, but I'm spitballing.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's and this too, having your different sources of revenue coming in, if that's teaching music and touring, and then any licensing. And for me, I've started a business, an online business with my wife, so I have that revenue stream. So at least I feel like if I'm connected some way to something that's pulling in a little more money, I at least can can use steal that money from my wife to fund my
Yeah, 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 yeah.
my tours. No, not steal, but and so it when at least for me, if I'm out for 2 months in a perfect world, gone for 2 months touring, and I'm not making a ton of money, at least I have this other revenue stream that I know is coming in from doing some online work for her business.
So you're able to do some stuff remote,
Yeah,
where you could plug in and work in McCall, Idaho for a day if you had to.
exactly.
I'm
Yeah.
seeing more and more musicians try to go to that format where they have some sort of a remote job. Um, and that's a cool thing too, because you do sort of need that, you know, that base.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Especially for me with kids, it's like, okay, I know what that's going to cost, so I've got to I know what this number needs to be so that then I can go do these other things.
is there a time and place for you, or have you and Suzanne had a discussion where you've said, you know what, if 5 years from now this isn't doing what we think it's going to do, you got to do something else, or are you just going to keep doing it till it works out? I mean, have you even had this discussion yet? Maybe that's a silly question.
We haven't had like the 3 to 5 year plan. I mean, I think the checking account will let us know before anything else
Yeah.
does.
Right, right, right.
Um, so and it depends on this business that we've started. If that can meet our financial needs, then it is kind of okay, this is your thing, and you want to. Some people go play golf every weekend. You're gonna go play music for a few weeks, and then you'll be back home. Okay, great, that's fine too.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I know you've brought up licensing a couple times, and that is a fantastic revenue stream for musicians. Have you made any connections in that world yet?
Not yet. I went to the Durango Songwriter Expo, which is a great way to meet those folks, and it's an interesting experience too because you're sitting in a room. Have you been there to Durango?
Yes, I went to every one. I even went out to California for about 4 years straight,
Oh wow.
but it's been a while.
Yeah, I mean the because I was gonna go to California this year too, and then all the shit happened with COVID. But yeah, submitting that song in front of 20 other musicians, and then you have 2 to 3 critics sitting up there telling you what you think, like that's an interesting experience. And it lets you know what you need to be doing production wise. So I haven't made those connections yet, but that's where I'm trying to get, because those are the long-term dividends that will pay, a
Right,
couple $100 a month maybe, or maybe
right.
it's just a couple $100 a year, but at least it's a few $100 a year.
Well, or you just get that right placement. Damn it! Wouldn't it be nice to just have that five
Just that
thousand
one.
dollar placement? So like, and that's not even huge, but it would help for a few months.
That one Nike commercial that needs an Americana backtrack, like
If you
that's where I need to be.
if Nike's going to use that sort of an Americana song, you're going to have to put like an electronic beat and a banjo in it.
Do you play banjo?
Not well. I have a banjo. I own a banjo.
Enough for a Nike commercial.
Yeah, enough for a Nike commercial. Let's talk about you as an artist for a little bit. I know we have a lot of similar influences and certainly similar tastes, and so we've been kind of drawn to each other in that way. Who do you like? Who's your flavor?
Yeah, well, you and I have talked a little bit about Josh Ritter, and he's the guy that kind of brought me out of my funk in my 30s. And it was a random, I heard one of his songs on the radio. It's The Curse, and at the end of the song, it's all about this mummy. Like, it's a crazy song. It's crazy that this even got played on the radio. It's all about a mummy who curses the woman who finds the mummy, and at the end, there's this twist in the story. And I caught the last verse, and I was like, did he just do that in a song? I don't even know what the beginning of the song was, but he made this twist, and that got me like, huh, maybe I could write about stuff like that instead of, again, heartbreak breakup songs.
If you remember off the top of your head, what was the twist?
The twist in the song is long ago on the ship, she asked why pyramids. Um, he said, think of them as an immense invitation. She asked, are you cursed? And he kissed her and hoped that she'd forget that question. So
Wow.
it just leaves you with this, wait, what? Did he is cursed, but you didn't say it, and he does a lot of that in his writing that I just think it's really cool the way he weaves those stories in.
No, that's really neat. And you've assigned me to listen to that song before, and so I've listened to a number of his stuff that you've sent over, a number of his songs, but I'm gonna go back and re-listen to that one in about 10 minutes.
It's a great song. So yeah, I love Josh Ritter. Joe Pug is another guy who's a singer songwriter, and he's more on the poet side. And I just think some of the lines that he creates, he just kind of twists things in 180 degrees. Um,
Yep.
a big fan of his.
He's
Lord
got a great
Huron is
podcast.
a what's that?
He's got a great podcast too.
He does, yeah.
And he's
What?
had Josh Ritter on, the working songwriter.
Yeah, and his lead in is like, or it's just an opportunity to procrastinate, which is what songwriters are good at.
Yep. Yep. For sure. For sure. Lord Huron.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Lord Huron. I think they do some cool stuff it's Americana, but they bring in a lot of cool electronic aspects. They use like some digital drums and things like that. And I've seen them live a few times. Those guys are great. Avett Brothers, I mean, if you're an Americana artist, you kind of have to. And I'm from North Carolina, and so are they. So, and then you turned me on to Rustin Kelly. I can't stop listening to that guy.
He's very cool. He really. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what he was doing with his voice because I thought it sounded really cool, and we were talking about that the other day. But he's somebody, actually, I think is a great example of a modern day artist because all these genres have been created before. They've all these, all of our influences have been tried. Whatever. He took classic Nashville singer-songwriter and punk rock, and he said, I'm going to take these two things and melt them, and that's going to be me. And we're seeing more and more artists take two totally different things that they're influenced by and put them together, and it's insane.
Well, he kind of took the mashup concept and made it his own. Like, okay, like the emo album that he did where he's singing these emo songs. I was like, oh, I like that song. Reminds me of when I was a young guy.
He does great versions of them too,
Yeah, well, and you told me too that he's married to Casey Musgraves, and I mean, her lyrics are unreal. I think she's an amazing songwriter.
She's phenomenal, although sadly just a week or two ago they announced they're getting divorced.
Oh, well, that's a bummer.
So love isn't real. If
they're both still excellent at their crafts.
Yeah, they're both still excellent at their crafts. So is Josh Ritter kind of your guy though? When you picture yourself up on that big stage, is it similar to what you see in him?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I could pick like the career path, his would be it. He was in Ireland for a while. He developed a giant Irish fan base. He's a Northeastern guy from Boston, so he developed that fan base. And now, he goes around and tours and he plays Red Rocks. And I don't know if he's headlined Red Rocks, but he's making a really good, solid living doing something that artistically is very, very sound. So I think his career trajectory and career path, like that would be perfect if I could pick one and just be like, oh, I'll just do what he did, right?
Yes.
That easy.
Yeah, I asked that question because I think we all have an artist. Though there's tons of influences, we all have that artist where you look at their career and you say, man, if there's a way I could mirror it, And
Yeah. Who's yours?
mine's Anders Osborne.
Okay.
That's my guy. And it used to be Jackie Green in high school when I first saw him, and I thought, he was opening for BB King at 22. So if I'm not doing that, my
Total
life is
failure.
a failure. And yeah, it is. But it's yeah, I mean, when I look at Anders and I look at his career and his life, right, and what he's put together with his music, and I said, man, I want to be like not just like him. I have other influences, and I'm my own person. But I look at his career. He's that one for me, like Josh Ritter is for you.
Yeah.
Um, but I always love hearing what that artist is for people. Um, but let's see before we wrap up. Is there anything else? Is there anything else you want to mention? Is there anything we forgot to dive in on?
Um, I don't think so. No, I mean, we didn't. Well, I guess we didn't really talk about, you know, leaving a steady job to
Yeah,
do
right, right. This has been the podcast with no order. We're all over the place. He
this.
left a steady job to do music with two kids who are at an age that they're not in diapers anymore, but they need a lot of attention.
Yeah.
How did you do it?
Um. Well, part of it was somewhat forced. Not to repeat too much, but I'd done marketing for 20 years, banking, media. I was a journalism major, and kind of bounced around from banking, media, and music, which makes no sense. So anyone looking at that resume should be like, "You're not doing what you should be doing." um, and the last job I had, it was a startup, and I had kind of gotten to the point where I was like, I think that I need to make a change, and I don't know what that change is. And I talked to my wife about it, and she was like, you should just take a month and figure that out. And so I was going in to put in my notice, and they were like, we're selling the company. And I was like, oh, okay. So I wasn't going to have a job anyway. So that sort of led to, my wife had always wanted to start this business. I was going to have some time, so I started that with her because I can do the back end of stuff for her. And she wanted to do that so she could spend more time with the kids. And if I'm playing music, I'm around so I can help with pickups. And, I play the Mr. Mom kind of role for a lot of stuff. And I think, for me, my parents helped me out, and I got a great education, but music was never an option. It was like, what are you going to major in that's going to get you a job? And I don't fault them at all for that. I mean, they're the ones paying for it.
Right, of course.
So they're, you know, I'm leaving this job to do something else where it's like, oh, you probably are going to take a 75% pay cut. And
Yeah.
just being honest with myself and with my wife about what are our financial goals and what do we think we can do. And I think that's really hard. And that's, if you're 19 or 20, it's like, who cares when you start getting older. And I think, you mentioned earlier being 25, 30, like you're phasing out of it. And you got to be honest with yourself. And there's some, I can get all woo woo on you with mindset and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Having those tough conversations with yourself and with whoever else you're responsible for financially, that's key. So I don't know if I answered any question or just.
Yeah, you absolutely did. I thought you were going to go woo woo on us.
Oh, if you want some mindset books, man, I got a pile back here of like, who are you as a person? What does that mean for you as an artist? What does that mean for you professionally?
Do you ever feel like you get in a rut of taking in so much content, but then not acting on what you're learning?
Absolutely. I imagine a lot of people do this because all the algorithms are set up this way. Oh, you're interested in this guy's podcast or in this guy's YouTube videos. Here's some other ones that are very similar. And so you're watching
Yeah.
5 people's YouTube videos about how you need to market things, how you should produce things, how you should practice this cool thing on guitar that you always wanted to learn, that this is how you do it. And you go through those cycles, and then I hit those burnout phases. It's usually about a week or week and a half, and you hit the burnout where you're like, what the hell am I doing? This is not what I should be focused on. I have my list, plan the work and work the plan. um,
Yeah.
so I think there's that. And I had an interesting conversation with my wife the other night too, and just about corporate structure, and like it's always built on 10% growth. You must grow 10%. You must grow 10%. But nothing else in nature and life in the world works that way. Things, people get born, they get old, they die, they go back into the ground, and then they create something else, like I'm getting woo woo on you
No,
now.
no, this is good. Yeah, yeah.
But it's the circle of life, or to everything, turn, turn, turn. Like there should be a season of the next 3 months I'm focused on creating new songs and the art. And then 3 months after that, I'm focused on producing and making it sound the best. And then the next 3 months, it's all marketing, touring, and then we're going to start again. But I I struggle with, and I think a lot of people struggle with, this is your day-to-day task. Every day you do these 10 things, and that's what's going to give you growth. But that's not the way our brains, our biology is structured at all. It's like start, grow, decay, and then start again. So if I could create that lifestyle, that'd be wonderful. I'll let you know how that goes in the next few months.
You bring up, yeah, you said so many great things, so many relatable things. And you're saying, oh, you spend a season writing and a season making it sound good and a season releasing it and touring and then start over. The way things are now, I mean, yeah, if you look at some of these young content creators, even teenagers that have YouTube channels with millions of followers, they're putting out a new video every week or every day, and they go through everything you just said all the time. And
Yeah.
I wonder, with my music and in my life, how I can somehow do that, and it ends up sometimes becoming so overwhelming to the point where I don't do anything because it's coming at me from all angles, and I just want to write, or just like you're saying, do one of
Yeah.
those things.
Well, it's I think you can start to get in the argument of flow state, and what a lot of these YouTubers unfortunately are burning out, and I can totally understand why. I mean, that is, if you're putting out a video every day or even every week, like how are you coming up with the topic and finding something that you're interested in to go deep enough to really where you're getting into like a flow state? Because once you're in that, and that's, to me at least, that's what art's all about. Like if I can get in that flow state, if I'm writing and all of a sudden I look up and it's 1:30 in the morning, I'm like, holy shit, what have I been doing? That was awesome.
Yeah.
Or just playing music or whatever it is. If you're not in that, what kind of content are you putting out? And I think, I know I have, I'm sure a lot of artists have, or the ones that I know have, where it's like, I wrote this song, it's okay, but I just don't feel it. It doesn't do much for me. What do you think it's going to do for the people who are listening to it? And
Right.
maybe with the YouTube content the way it is, where people are watching for 5 to 8 seconds, maybe people don't care, but maybe it's also because the content isn't that great.
Right. Sure. And in a world where you do get forgotten about if you don't have content coming out all the time, it's tough to find that balance too.
Yeah. Well, and that's are you trying to appeal to 100 million people? Or are you trying to appeal to 1,000 people who really get it? And are you trying to make the connection, or are you just trying to be popular? And that's tough, because as an artist, you also have pretty good ego, probably. You want
Right.
to play those shows. I think I always go back to when I was in high school. I was in this band, and we had the Beta Club convention, which is really like a convention it's like National Honor Society. So it's all the nerds. But there were 500 kids, and our band played in front of 500 kids, and I was 16, 17. You're ruined. You're ruined for life over that. I
Yeah.
just performed in front of 500 people. I can't ever perform for 10 people?
Yeah. Uh, well, hey, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me, and all the listeners. We're gonna be looking out for the EP. This episode will probably, this is technically a release break from the podcast in the month of August, so the episodes will start coming out again in the next few weeks. So this will actually probably land out very close to your release date. So
Nice. Awesome.
if you're listening, folks, go check out the new EP, Hometown Rootage. That'll at least have 3 singles out by the time this podcast airs. And maybe Alex will even let us play a song at the end of the podcast here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, we'll put a song at the end too. Well, thanks for hanging, man. I appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you in person soon.
Andy, thanks so much, man. I appreciate it.
All right, bye-bye. There it is, folks. My conversation with Alex Rhodes. Great dude, fun convo, and I'm wishing him all the success on his new EP. That's all I got for this week. If you enjoy the podcast, it really helps out if you rate and review on Apple Podcasts. And we're now up on Patreon. Patreon.com/Andy Sidow is what it's under, SYDOW. And for as little as $3 a month, you can help contribute to the success of this podcast. And there's all kinds of little perks included too. I'm releasing some tracks that are Patreon exclusive releases, and lots of little things like that. So check that out if you feel so compelled. Any questions, comments, concerns, hate mail, or death threats, you can send them to middleclassrockstar@gmail.com. Thanks again, and I hope to see you real soon.
Well, I've been hoping you could break my heart. I've been doing what I can here just to play my part. Showing up late to pick you up tonight. Pushing all the buttons here to pick a fight. We'll drive to my favorite bar, and I'll give you the keys to my car. I'll tell you that my plan has never been to drive. My friends are drunk and waiting on us to arrive. And I'll be all smiles and laughs, and you'll be sitting in the back. You take me by the hand and say you wanna go dancing, but I'm working on a buzz, I wanna keep advancing. Well, I've been hoping you could break my heart. I've been doing what I can here just to play my part. Bourbon on my breath and a cigarette. Are you getting to the point you wanna walk out yet? Well, I've been hoping you could break my heart. I've been hoping you could break my heart. Hold me, squeeze me, say that you don't need me. I've been hoping you could break my heart. Well, I think it's going just as planned. I love you when you hold my hand, but tonight I'm on a tear and I just don't know why. I'm doing all I can to make you say goodbye. We'll do this every year or so, and I knew you would let me go, but I'll be back again before the sun is up, just trying to put some sugar in your coffee cup. Well, I've been hoping you could break my heart. I've been hoping you could break my heart. Hold me, squeeze me, say that you don't need me. I've been hoping you could break my heart. Well, I'm still hoping you can break my heart, but you're too damn sweet for me to wanna part. I'll wake up in the morning and apologize.